Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rashmita, and I am the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. This session will run over the next 60 minutes, including Q&A. But before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. So please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat section. I would now like to welcome Krunal, our speaker for today's session. Krunal has been serving the IT industry for 15 years now. He has delivered training sessions for various IT MNCs in India as well as abroad. Apart from the training session, he is also a part of software product development where he is involved as lead architect consultant. He is Microsoft MVP for Azure, Microsoft certified trainer as well for India regional lead. But for now, I will hand over to Krunal to begin the session. Let me bring him into the stream.
Everyone. Well, I'm Krunal Trivedi. As
Hi.
Rashmita has, hello Rashmita.
Hey,
So,
hi. Over to you, Krunal. I'll be at the backstage. Thank you.
thank you so much, Rashmita. So, friends, as Rashmita has already given you my brief introductions, I'm Krunal Trivedi, Microsoft certified trainer, MCT India regional lead as a Microsoft MVP for Azure. I'm delivering corporate trainings for IT MNCs in India, in US, UK, Middle East, and Asia Pacific for last 15 years now. I've been part of many projects where I involve from requirement gathering to the product delivery. I involve there as a software architect or product architect, generally where we do lift and shift from on-premises to cloud. Recently, I published a book on artificial intelligence AI 900, and I'm glad here to deliver sessions on prompt engineering, and I hope you all will like the session. Well, I would be here for a few things before we start the session, some housekeeping stuff. I would be here, but probably after a few minutes when we start the session, I'll turn off my camera. But I'm here only, so don't worry. If during the sessions, if you have any questions, right, you can please keep on posting, or you can just keep on with you. You can park it aside. And end of the session, we'll have 10 to 15 minutes where you can shoot out your questions. If you want to shoot out during the topics, you can shoot out, but I would answer these questions once I complete my session part. Right, I would be again start the camera and we'll discuss lots of things, your questions, your queries about this prompt engineering. So let's start the session. So here, what we are going to understand, we are going to understand what is prompt engineering, how to develop a prompt construct, how to develop a prompt. And as we know, this prompt construction is a very important skill. While considering the API endpoints for AI-based models, here we'll talk about chat completion API and the completion API. We'll also see what an ideal prompt looks like, and then we'll focus on various prompt engineering techniques. Last but not the least, we'll see tokenization and some best practices. So let us start with what is prompt engineering or introduction to prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is a technique which involves designing prompt for natural language processing models. We know we have various LLMs, large language models. They are based on GPT-3, GPT 3.5, GPT 3.5 Turbo, GPT-4, etc. And these models are prompt-based. So with prompt-based models, the user interact with the model by entering a text, and model respond to that text. Model's task is to continue with the input text. And we know these models are extremely powerful, but their behavior is very sensitive. It respond, its response is based on what you actually ask for. And this makes prompt construction very important skill. The quality of the input prompt we send to these LLMs directly influence the quality of the response. So that's why we have to be very careful while constructing the prompt. So if we provide a carefully constructed prompt, the model can provide us with the better and more interesting response. And this entire process of improving prompt quality through various techniques is called prompt engineering. So we use this prompt engineering to design prompts to better utilize these LLMs. Now, as I discussed, this prompt construction is very important skill in today's world. Someone can say it's an art, someone can say it's a science, or it might be your next job title. But it is very important skill, and as a developer, you should learn it. As we discussed that LLMs such as GPT-3, 3.5, and 4 are in GPT-3. These models are trained on a huge amount of data. These models generate text, images, code, and creative content based on your prompt, based on what you ask them to create. So by providing relevant, specific, unambiguous, and well-structured prompt, we can best utilize this model. We can generate more accurate response. For example, if I want my OpenAI model to generate a product descriptions, I can provide it with a detailed descriptions which describes the features and benefit of the product. By providing this detailed context, the model will generate accurate and relevant product descriptions. For example, I can tell the model that generate a product descriptions for the smartphone. There's a one prompt. But I can also tell the model that generate the product descriptions with the smartphone having 5G network, having 50 megapixel camera, having 8 GB RAM, and 256 GB storage. So this way the prompt get more detailed descriptions about what the user want. And here the prompt will generate very accurate answer. When we work with prompt engineering or when we are prompting to the models, we have lots of parameters that we have to fine tune, that we have to set. If we give a more detailed, perfect prompt or say accurate prompt, even it will help us to understand how the model is generating its response. By designing the prompts which are easy to understand and interpret, we can help ourselves to better understand how the model is generating its response. For example, in the healthcare domain, sometimes it's critical to understand how the model is making decisions. So here we can use various prompt engineering techniques. We can ask a model to even reason its thought process, and even it will help us to understand whether the prompt what we are providing is correct or not, or the model is responding in logical way or not. So that's why this prompt construction is very important skill to develop in today's industry. When we talk about API endpoints, so before we explore our prompt engineering techniques, let us take a look on how Azure OpenAI model works. For Azure OpenAI models, we have many APIs, but generally today I'm going to focus on these two APIs. And our prompt engineering techniques are applicable to both of these APIs in one or in another way. So we have chat completion API and we have completion API. The chat completion API is useful in the chat scenarios. The functionally in chat completion API, you provide your prompt, model will respond you continue with another prompt, and model will give you the response having the previous prompt's biases in the mind. This chat completion API has something called system message. As the name suggests, system message. It will ask your model how to behave. You can tell your model that you are a school teacher and you have to answer the question of the prompts. Or you can tell your model that you are a news reader and you have to answer the questions of the prompt. So you can tell your model how to act, how to format using the system message. This chat completion API is supported by GPT-3, GPT-3.5 Turbo, and GPT-4. At the other hand, we have completion API. It is not, perfect for chat-based scenarios, but it is optimized for summarization, extractions, search-based functionality. For example, you have an email and you want to summarize the highlight of that email, or you have a document and you want to figure out the summary of that document. So that time you will go for this completion API. If you want to provide a syntax, natural language, and you want to generate a Python code based on the natural language, you can use this completion API. Or you can use this completion API to generate SQL query based on your natural language. So this is all completion API. Here we do not have system message, but here we have meta prompt, which are used instead of system messages. What we do in the meta prompt, along with our prompt, we'll send some extra informations. That is what the meta prompt. So when you're working with chat completion API, the first thing to consider is system message. With the completion APIs, you have to provide some additional information, that is meta prompt. Now, take a look on this prompt. The prompt says, write a product launch email for new headphones. The product is AI powered and priced at $79.99. The tone is friendly and exciting. Output as a JSON object with the subject and body fields. We also provide some examples and then we say what should be the output. Now, if you look at this prompt, look at the very first line. Write a product launch email for the new headphone. Now, even only that line can be your prompt also. But if you see the first line and second line, both together can be your prompt. And here, all this entire 6-7 line is your prompt. So it depends upon how you construct your prompt. If you take a look here, the prompt consists of instruction. It is like write a product launch email, or summarize this information, or translate this statement to French language. That is what the instruction. Then it has some input data. It will help your prompt to reason. Then you set some context. The tone is friendly and exciting, or you are an American teacher, like that. Also, you define what will be your target format, then examples and queue. In upcoming slides, we will see all these things in detail, and we will see how to use all these things to construct a best quality prompt. Now, if I talk about various prompt engineering techniques, we have something like we should provide clear instructions. We have to define format of instructions. We should use section markers. We should define primary and supporting content. We can go for request output composition, that how should be my output is. We should define system message. We should include conversion history, zero shot and few shot learning, prompt chunking, which is breaking down a complex task into small tasks, and prompt chaining. So now let us take a look on various techniques here. But the goal is what? To use all these techniques in one prompt, or few techniques in one prompt, or one or two techniques in one prompt, to design accurate prompt which gives us more predictable and relevant response. So first is provide clear instruction. Here, asking the Azure OpenAI model clearly for what you want is one of the best way to get desired result. By being as descriptive as possible, the model can generate a response that most closely matches what you are looking for. So you can see in these above examples, the first prompt is like write a product description for a new water bottle. Look at the second prompt. It says write a product description for a new water bottle that is 100% recycled. I'm being descriptive. I am asking what I actually want from the model. Be sure to include that it comes in natural colors with no dyes. So here I'm putting this is what you have to include in your response. And look at the last prompt. Everything is same, but the very last line says, please give response in the bulleted list. So even here, I say, what is the desired format of my response? So here you can see it is very helpful for the complex instructions. You can say that, is a long email or long paragraph. You are summarizing it. Give me a number list, give me a bulleted list, or give me output in the JSON format, give me tabular data. It is very helpful. So two things here. Be clear what you want and be descriptive as possible. So this is the first important technique one should understand while constructing the prompt. Now if you see here, all these three things are given here in this example. It says write a product descriptions for a new water bottle. It gives me some paragraph. In the second one, I say make sure you include it as natural colors, no dyes, and each purchase removes 10 pounds for plastic. And the third one, I say give the response in the bulleted list. So I get the entire response in the bulleted list. So this is what descriptive and clear instruction. That is the first technique. The second one says format of instructions. How instructions are formatted can impact how the model interprets the prompt. We have two things to consider here. One is recency bias and one is location of instructions. We have to be very precise how we are providing instructions to the prompt. We have to make sure that prompt clearly understand what is the content and what is the instruction. What is recency bias? So recency bias affect the models. It is very helpful in the chat completion scenarios. If you include more recent messages in the conversation, your prompt will have great impact of in the response. So for example, when I start with all my conversation history, right? So prompts know I'm talking in which context, and it will help my model to understand what I'm looking for, and it will respond me according to my chat completion history. So we should include this recent messages in our conversations. When you work with chat completion models, by default we have number defined, like you can have 10 recent messages are included. You can change this number. So that is what one thing you have to understand, recency bias. And second one is location of instructions. Where information located, that is very important. Whether you are putting information at the top of at the beginning of the prompt or at the end of the prompt, it plays very crucial role. What I have observed is that information located towards the end of the prompt can have more influence on the output. You may get better responses by repeating the instructions. So what you can do, you can have instruction at the beginning of the prompt, then your content, and again you repeat the instructions at the end of the prompt. Also, sometimes you can put your information closer to the end of the prompt and it will result in better response. So format of instructions is very important. How many conversation history or how many previous conversation messages you include and where you put your instruction plays an important role here. Let's look at this example. Here my user says your task is to verify if the statement is supported by a specific port from the following set of snippet. I have two snippets. And then again I have one more instructions. Is the statement directly implied or stated by the snippets? So I have some instruction at the beginning of the prompt. I have some instruction at the end of the prompt. Also, you can see I use some markers after instructions and then before instruction at the end. So this is known as use of section markers. So we can use section markers such as hyphen or hashes between instructions and the content. So this way we can format instructions. We can split the instructions at the beginning or at the end, and rest of the part is the content. So these tags allow the model to more clearly differentiate between instructions and content. If you see here, the first line, translate the text into French. This is the instruction. Then I have section markers. And that is, section marker is holding my content. Like what's the weather going to be like today? And then I get the output. So my content is in between section markers. And model can understand that everything between section markers is the content. Above it and below it might be instruction. In this case, only above the section marker is the instruction. So here, this line, what's the weather going to be like today, is your content. When we talk about the content, we can focus on two types of contents: primary content and supporting content. Now, primary content refers to some sort of text that is being processed or transformed by the model. So, what model is going to act upon, that is what your primary content is. Here you can see translate to French. Can you please tell me how to get to the museum? So, can you please tell me how to get to the museum is your primary content. But this primary content is used in conjunction with the instruction. What is instruction here? Translate to French. So I have content and instruction together. Primary content refers to the content that is subject of the query, statement, translate, article summary. It could be your primary content. What is secondary content? So again, here you can see the primary content can be larger also. So in this case, you can see is a completion API I am using. The task is summarize an article and I have given some article content over there. It is between section marker. That is what my content. But then I have some instruction. I say summarize the article and identify 3 takeaways in a bulleted list. So look at this thing. I say summarize it. What I want 3 takeaways. And how I want in bulleted list. This is the instruction. So primary content is the actual content on which the model is going to act on, model is going to process, and it comes along with the instructions. What is supportive content? Supporting content is a content that may alter the response, but it's not the focus or subject of the prompt. So if you provide the supporting content, it allows the model to respond more completely, accurately, and it is more likely to include the desired informations. For example, if you are processing an email, you can tell that I want to extract key information from this email. So email is the primary content. You want to extract key information is the instruction. But then you can say, I want sender, I want email date, I want to understand collaborations or marketing in this email. So this way, names, preferences, date, senders, all these things are known as supportive content. So this supportive content will help model to produce more desired output. If you see here, I have some email, but then supportive content says, I'm interested in collaboration, benefits, senders, informations, etc. So primary content is the main content, which your model is going to process. Supportive content will help model to extract desired output. The next technique is request output composition. Here you are going to define the structure of the output. By providing the context to the AI model, it allows the model to better understand what you are asking for or what it should now produce. We can provide context in various ways. We can define the structure of your output. This can also have a large impact on your result. This is heavily useful for SQL queries or to classify the sentiment into specific structures and so on. Or you are writing the response as an email. You should clearly tell what you want to include or how you want to display your output. So if you take a look here in this example, I say write a table in Markdown with 6 animals in it. So it shows me the output in the tabular format. But the second example says put two fictional characters into JSON and it gives me output in the JSON format. So I'm telling how I want my output. The next very important thing is system message. As I told you, you can use the system message to describe the model's personality, to define what the model should and should not answer, and define the format of model responses. So we can use it to define model's personality, what it should answer, what it should not answer, and how the model should, in which format model should respond. The system messages are included at the beginning of the prompt and is used to prime the model with the context, instructions, or other information relevant to your use case. System messages are very important and they significantly change the response in form of format and content both. If you are using completion API, as I told you, we have something called meta prompt and it serves as a base prompt for the rest of the prompt content. So for example, here you can see we have few system messages are there. Like Assistant is a large language model trained by OpenAI, or Assistant is an intelligent chatbot designed to help users answer technical questions about Azure OpenAI service. And last one says is used to answer the tax related questions. Or you can say Assistant is a young college student in United States of America who is responding to the questions of environment science. So you are defining personality of the prompt. You are saying what to answer, tax related questions, technical questions. You are defining what to answer and how you should answer it. If you see here, in the top image, it is a chat completion API. And look at the system message. The system message says, you are a casual, helpful assistant. You will talk like an American old Western film character. And then I put my questions here. Can you direct me to the library? And it answers me like that. The thing is what? I can say you are a newsreader, you are a teacher, or you are an OpenAI model who will answer only for these questions. So this is what we are defining the personality of our AI model using system messages. The next technique is conversation history. This conversation history enables model to continue responding in a similar way. It will continue with the same tone or formatting. This history can be provided in two ways, from an actual chat history or from a user-defined example conversation. So I have two approaches. I can use my previous chat conversation, that is what my actual chat history, or I can provide some examples also. When you work with chat completion API, such as ChatGPT or Azure OpenAI Studio, right? By default, automatically it includes conversation history. When you work with this chat completion API in Azure OpenAI Studio, we can specify how many past messages you want to include. What you can do, you can try to reduce the message to one and see the what prompt is generating, or you can put up to 10 messages and you can observe what prompt is generating. But always keep one thing in mind. More conversation history included in the prompt means a larger number of input tokens are used. You have to determine the correct balance for your use case. You have to consider the token limit also. The next one is zero shot. and few shot learning. Zero shot means no example is provided to your model. So here, model is tasked to generate the response without any sample output or additional context for the given task. So what model does here? Model will use its huge LLM capability, natural language capability, and it will use its diverse data set and generate the output. But again, what we want accurate or optimized answers. That's why we should write effective prompts. And if I write a prompt without any context, without any example, then probably I'm getting random output. I will not get the desired output, or it's not the optimum output. My result can be inconsistent, inaccurate, or inappropriate. So that's why we should always include few examples, few samples while crafting the prompt. That is few shot learning. In the few shot learning, model uses user-defined examples in the conversation. So here we provide the model with examples of how it should respond to a given query. So these examples serve to train the model on how to respond. So for example, by providing the model a couple of prompts and the expected response, it continues in the same pattern without instructing it what to do. So here, this is ideal for chat completion scenario. But again, as I told you, if you are working with the normal completion API, we can put each message on the new line with proper labeling and the role. So if I show you some example here, take a look. It is my chat completion API, and look at the left hand side rectangle. My user says that was an awesome experience. So prompt assistant says is a positive. User says I won't do that again. So prompt says it is negative. So here I have given you few system messages. This is few shots, right? So now my right hand side user says you are early today, and assistant says is a neutral. User says you should stay back to complete your work. Assistant says is a neutral or negative depending on the content. So we tell model how to provide the output. If I write that was not worth my time, so assistant will say no, it's negative. Or I say like I can't miss this. Assistant says it's positive. So here we are providing examples, few shots. This is the chat completion API. But if you see, this is my completion scenario. So again here, I provide each example in the new line with the proper label and role. So again here, user says that was an awesome experience. Assistant says positive. User says I want to do that again. Model says negative. So here now my user says you can't miss this. So model knows how to respond, and its response is positive. Without any of the context, if I simply write you can't miss this, model doesn't know what to respond. So that's why few shots are very important here. It's important to craft a good prompt and get the better response. Again, look at these examples here. In the zero shot, I says classify customers' questions, classify between category 1 to 3. I have detailed guidelines for how to choose. So I choose 1 if the question is about insurance, 2 if the question is about home flood, and choose 3 if the question is not relevant to insurance. Now I ask the question, what packages do you have in auto insurance? Now model can respond anything what he feels the best answer is. But if you see the few shot, in the few shot I have given 2 examples. So first question is, hi there, do you know how to choose flood insurance? And I answer is what? Classified topic is 2. Then the second example is, hey there, I have questions on my auto insurance, and the classified topic is 1. So now you ask the new questions and prompt to know how to answer. Now here this classified topic, I am asking prompt to give me classified topic. This is also known as queue. What you are looking for. This is known as queue. Now, the next important technique is prompt chunking, also known as break down a complex task. So these large language models often perform better if the task is broken down into smaller steps. For example, in the search query, the prompt can be restructured so that the model is first instructed to extract relevant facts, then generate search queries, and then verify those facts. I mean, instead of giving a model a huge task, you can break it down. You can give step-by-step information. So this technique for improved interaction is to divide complex prompt into multiple queries. And this allows your model to better understand each individual part and can improve the overall accuracy. So if you see here, look at my prompt. I say you will read a paragraph and then issues queries to search engine in order to fact check in. Then I have the content. So first is what? You will read a paragraph, then issues query to a search engine in order to fact check. And then after content, the instruction is what? Now you will extract factual claims, then issue queries to fact check them, and when issuing the query, use this function. So this is what? This is step-by-step instruction is given. Read the paragraph, issues queries, extract factual claims, then issue queries to fact check them. This is what the step-by-step information is given here. So look at the right-hand side output here. It says here, John Smith is married to Lutz Smith. They have 5 kids. John Smith works as a software engineer at Microsoft. And then there are a few query suggestions are given. What is this? John Smith married Lutz Smith to verify their marital status. They have kids to confirm the number of children they have and to verify his employment status and job title at Microsoft. So here it read this thing, then break down the task, and then it performs it. So this is what prompt chunking. The next thing is prompt chaining. Now, one useful method to help you break down your task effectively is to explain the prompt its chain of thought. That means now we are not going to ask prompt to generate the response. Along with that, we'll say, tell me how you have come to the particular response. Tell me your chain of thoughts. Here we ask a model to respond with the step-by-step process by which it determines the response is helpful. By doing so, you can see whether the model made an incorrect logical turn. It's also useful for us to understand how to change the prompt to avoid the error. This is also you can consider as a variation of the prompt chunking task. So instead of splitting a task into smaller steps, in this approach, we ask a model to proceed with the response in step by step and present all the steps involved. We can also ask the prompt to include the site of the sources. So from where does he get all these details? So this is best used to help you iterate and improve your prompts and to get the highest quality answer from the model. It is one of the best technique. For example, let's see this 2 prompt. The first prompt says, what sport is easiest to learn but hardest to master? Response with the number list, and it just gives me golf. That's it. It did just answer with the golf, but I don't know how it has come with this particular logic that golf is easiest to learn but hardest to master. So I asked the second prompt. I says, what sport is easiest to learn but hardest to master? Give a step-by-step approach of your thought, ending in your answer, response with the number list. So now look at this thing. It gives me a number list of thought by thought, step-by-step thoughts. And finally, the answer is golf. So this is known as chain of thoughts. We give instruction to the prompt, to the model, we give content to the model, We say this is the system message, how to respond. We provide proper format here, but we also say give us your chain of thoughts, why you come to a particular conclusion. So this is what one of the best way to write down the perfect prompt and get the accurate answer. Even it will help if you read the logic, you'll understand that model is implementing correct logic, or we should change the prompt or what. The next we have few parameters, temperature parameters and top possibilities parameter, top P parameter. So when you design the prompt, you will see lots of parameters are there. Tokens, conversation history messages, temperature parameters, top possibilities parameters. So this changing this parameter can definitely affect the response of your model. This changing the temperature parameters changes the output of the model. The temperature parameter can be set between 0 and 2. And if I'm not wrong, recently it's between 0 and 1. The higher value of temperature parameter will make the output more random and produce more divergent response, while the lower value will make the output more focused and concrete. So for example, if I'm creating a fictional story, I will put temperature parameter at highest value. So if it is between 0 to 1, I'll just put 0.8. So it will give me more random fictional answer. But if I am writing a legal document, I will reduce these temperature parameters, and I will reduce it to say 0.2. So it will give me more focus and concrete answer. So this is what temperature parameter. Top probability parameter is similar to the temperature parameter, which also controls the randomness of the model's response. Either you change top probability parameter or you change the temperature parameter. Don't change both. This is what the general recommendations. So this temperature parameters controls how creative the model is allowed to be. The low value means limiting the variations. Higher value means low weighted completions and creativeness you will get, but they're less precise. So these are the various techniques of the prompt engineering. We should always also understand tokenization. What is tokens? So GPT models break down your words into tokens. When you are working with GPT model, the input size increases with the each new generation of the GPT models. Here, common multi-syllable words are often a single token, and less common words are broken down to another syllables. Tokens sometimes acts like a strange. Here you can see in the last example, the spelling out the entire month is more space efficient than fully numeric date, because tokens are different there. When you are writing a GPT model, sometimes even if you are not getting the perfect output, you should also see what are your tokens. If your token is 100, then your output would fit in the 100 tokens. And probably that is not the base output for you. So you can change the token from 100 to 400. When we started with GPT-3 models earlier, we have 2000 tokens. But now up in GPT-4, 32K versions give us up to 32,768 tokens. So we have to be very, very careful that we have very limited space. So when we write a code, we have to make sure we use this white space carefully. Tabular data is more space efficient. These GPT models can understand tabular formatted data quite easily rather than the JSON data. Same way, consecutive white spaces are treated as a separate tokens, which can be an easy way to waste your space. Any space preceding a word, on the other hand, are typically treated as a part of the same token as the word. So if you see here, the word work I have the first line, second word work. It has some space. So this that space is also considered as a part of the word, is a part of the token. So we have to be very, very careful when you are writing your paragraphs. So the best practices are what? Be specific. Leave as little to interpretations as possible. Be descriptive. Use analogies. Double down. Sometimes you may need to repeat yourself to the model. So give instructions at the beginning of the prompt, then your content, and then at the end of your prompt. You can use Q also. One more thing to keep in mind is order matters. The order in which you present the information to the model may impact the output. If you put instructions before your content, like summarize the following, or after the content, summarize the above, can make a difference in the output. Even the order of few short examples can also matter because this is referred to as the recency bias. Give the model an out. It can sometimes helpful to give the model an alternative path if it is unable to complete the assigned task. For example, when asking a questions over a piece of text, you might include something like respond with not found if answer is not present. So this can help the model avoid generating false responses. That means every time if model is not getting appropriate answer, what to do, that you can also mention. Or you can say simply write, I don't know. This is the technical model and I don't know anything about the taxation or healthcare. So this is what you have to give some alternatives to the model. So this is what. Now, if you take a look on small 2 to 3 prompts, I would like to show you. If I go to my Azure OpenAI here in the Azure portal, and I have some OpenAI services are provisioned, and I open my OpenAI Studio here. And here you can see in this playground, I have chat completions, I have daily model. I just go for say completions API this time. It can perform various tasks. I make sure I select my completion model as a deployment. And here I say summarize an article abstractive. So here we have some article is given. Provide a summary of the text below that captures the main idea. So this is very basic prompt. And if look at this thing, right now the token is 320. Here max length token is 250. And 0.3 is the temperature. When temperature is 0.3, that means it will have less random value. It will have focused output. So if I click on generate here, so it's generating. We need to wait for a while. So here you can see it's generating the content for me. It has generated the content. But now, as a base practice, what I can do, I can say extract 4 key highlights in bulleted list. And now if I click on generate, you can see it gives me 4 highlights in the bulleted list. I can also write I can remove this prompt now, and let me put say like this. So now my prompt says extract 4 key highlights about this article and generate an engaging social media post for each highlight. Respond in JSON format. Highlight is the keyword, then value. Post is the keyword and value. Even I can break it down like this. So this is my key value pair in JSON. And now if I click on this generate, okay, actually what happens, we forget to clear this, and now we just write generate. Look at these things. It's a JSON format, key value, key value, key value, key value, key value. That is what is giving me the answer in the JSON format. Now, if I go to this chat API here, as I told you, this is what your chat prompt. Here you can see right hand side shows past message included, conversation history. So it will include 10 messages. Here we have system message. You are an AI assistant that will help people find information. Now I can be more specific here, and what I can do is say, hold on, yeah, say you are a casual helpful assistant. You will talk like an American old Western film actor. So this is what I provide system message here. And then here I just click on apply your changes. I can also give some examples here. So right now I just provide system message and I just click on apply changes and say continue. So now if I write, can you find me the way to library? And if I just click on send, see the way it answers. Well, howdy there, partner. I reckon I can help you find your way to the library now. Where exactly are you located right now? So this is how it interacts. So here we set the system message. I can also put something here in the system message like this. Say user says that was an awesome experience. And assistant says positive. User says I want do that again. Assistant says negative. And I change this, save the changes here. And now I say user says you should stay back to complete the task. Assistant says neutral. And I say you are always late. It says negative. You are on time. This is your positive. So this is what here we provide system messages how to work and how to respond. Now, again, if I go back to completion API and I just delete, I just delete it here and let me refresh this one. And I'm just going to write one message here. The message is same again. This I want to complete using completion API. So you will read the paragraph, then issue the queries to a search engine in order to fact check. Again, this is section markers. I provide the content, then I provide the instructions. But look at this. What you do, first you will read the paragraph, then issues the queries, fact check these claims, then issue the queries to fact check them, and then issuing the query, use this function search query. So this is what prompt chunking. So now if I click on generate, you can see it's giving me the factual claims step by step, is providing me the output. So instead of giving the entire output, here we are doing it a step by step prompt chunking. And same thing again, if I go to this chat API, I can clear the chat. And again, I remove the system message and say you are an AI based assistant who is very funny. And I just save it. Now I just put a question is what sport is easiest to learn but harder to master? Response with the number list. So look at this thing. It gives me top 5 sports with the number list. But then I can put it. Now let me change the system message first of all. And I say go for default one. Don't be funny. And then let me give the answer. Prompt, give me the prompt. And again it's giving me the answers. Now I change it and say write it like a Shakespeare's writing assistant. This is what, in my humble opinion, chess is the sport which is easiest to learn but hardest to master. This is how it gives. But now I can do chain of thoughts. So in the chain of thoughts, I ask him to provide me his chain of thought. Like give a step-by-step approach of your thoughts ending in your answer. Response with the number list. So now when I click here, look at this thing. It's giving me the proper reasoning which even helps me to understand how it has reached to the particular conclusion. So even if I read the logic here, I can understand that model is reasoning correct or not, or my logic, my prompt needs improvement or not. That is how it works. So that's it. We have discussed various prompt engineering techniques. We should provide clear instructions. We should mention the format of the output, or format of the instruction should be clear. We should use section markers. We should have primary content, secondary content, right? For example, let me show you. If I go to completion here, and if we have any, I have say, okay, or instead of these, summarize an article again. And now here I can say, provide a summary of the article, and I say, again, if I have to use section markers, what I'll do, section markers, and then I say, I am interested in Microsoft's future tech agenda. And now if I click on generate, so this is instruction, this is primary content, this is secondary content. And if we click on generate, this is what, as a chief technology officer of Azure AI service, I am leading a team. So that's what they are just creating summary, and that's what how it works. So this is what we have seen, this prompt chunking, chain of thoughts, how to provide primary content along with the secondary content, tokens, parameters, conversation history, and all. So yeah, that's it from my end. Now I'm open for any questions if you have. Yes, Rashmita. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you have any queries, you can reach out to me. This is my LinkedIn QR code. You can scan it. And the topics what we have discussed today, they are relevant from this link, this prompt engineering 101. This is Microsoft Learn links. I strongly suggest all of you to go through this MS Learn links, the links which is associated with this today's session, prompt engineering 101. So go through that link, and it will be really helpful to you.
Thank you, Krunal.
Thank you so much, Rashmita. So I'm open for questions. I'm all done.
Sure. Folks, if you have question, please feel free to drop in the chat section while we are waiting here for another 2, 3 minutes. Or else you're always welcome to, get in touch with Krunal later after this session. He has already shared, so I'm just another one more time highlighting the QR code. Please feel free to scan the QR code and you'll be in touch with Krunal.
Also, Rashmita, it would be great if we can give them this MS Learn link so they can go through it. Yeah, as well.
Sure. Thanks, Krunal. And I've already shared the link, the uh, Microsoft Learn module link in the chat. Uh,
Okay.
so here it goes.
Yes.
Please feel free to use the Learn module link. It will actually help you to, gain access to additional resources to take your learning further. I don't think we have any more questions at the moment, so we can wrap today's session. Thank you, Kunal, once again for hosting an amazing session, and thank you all for joining us today. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.